I'm Michael Torres, 58 years old, and I spent 33 years building structures that could withstand anything. As a civil engineer in Portland, I learned that every building needs a solid foundation. What I didn't learn until it was almost too late was that the same principle applies to relationships. Some connections hold you up, others just weigh you down. This is the story of how I learned to tell the difference. My wife Diana used to be a nurse. When we met in 1989, she was the kind of person who would stay late to hold a patient's hand during a difficult moment. Somewhere along the way, that woman disappeared. By 2024, she'd reinvented herself as a wellness influencer with 12,000 followers who hung on her every post about gratitude, self-care, and living your truth. The irony of what happened next still burns. We have 2 kids. Marcus is 32, my oldest. He's what Diana calls an entrepreneur. What I call it is something else entirely. In the past decade, I've watched him burn through 3 business ventures. First, it was a cryptocurrency trading platform that promised to revolutionize finance. I gave him $28,000 for that. It folded in 11 months. Then came an organic meal delivery service that was going to corner the Portland market. Another $32,000. It lasted 8 months before the health department shut it down for violations I still don't fully understand. The third was a drop-shipping operation that he swore was different from all the pyramid schemes out there. 20,000 more. It evaporated in 6 months when his supplier in Malaysia vanished. Each time, he'd come to me with spreadsheets and projections and that earnest look that reminded me of the kid who used to help me draft blueprints at the kitchen table. Each time, Diana would say the same thing. Michael, he's our son. What else are we saving it for? We can't take it with us. My daughter Sophia is 28. She's finishing her master's in structural engineering at Portland State. She's the one who inherited my attention to detail, my need to understand how things work and why they fail. She works part-time at a coffee shop to pay her way through school. When I offered to help with tuition, she thanked me, but said she wanted to earn it herself. I should have paid more attention to that difference. We also have Max, a golden retriever who's 9 years old now. Diana treats him like a prop for her Instagram photos. Sophia's the only one who remembers to fill his water bowl. It started 18 months before everything fell apart. Marcus announced he was getting married to Brittany, a girl he'd been dating for 11 months. I liked Brittany well enough at first. She was polite, always remembered to bring something when she came to dinner, but there was something in the way she looked at our house, our cars, our things, like she was taking inventory. The wedding planning began immediately. Marcus and Brittany wanted a destination wedding in Cancun. They'd found this resort right on the beach, all-inclusive, with a ceremony site overlooking the Caribbean. It sounded beautiful. It also sounded expensive. Dad, I know it's a lot to ask, Marcus said one Sunday in March of last year. We were in my garage, where I was restoring a 1967 Mustang I'd bought as a project. But this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Brittany's always dreamed of a beach wedding. How much are we talking about? I asked, not looking up from the carburetor I was rebuilding. Well, the venue is $15,000. That includes the ceremony space, the reception, the coordinator. The photographer Brittany wants is $12,000. I know that sounds crazy, but Dad, you should see her portfolio. These photos will last forever. I set down my wrench. That's $27,000 right there. The flowers are $8,000. Brittany wants orchids, and apparently they're hard to get in Mexico, so they have to import them. And then there's the family contribution. The what? Brittany's parents are covering her dress and the cake and some other stuff. But there's a tradition in her family. The groom's family contributes to the overall costs as a sign of respect and partnership. How much respect are we talking about? He looked uncomfortable. $10,000. I did the math in my head. $45,000. For one day. Marcus, that's a down payment on a house. That's a year of Sophia's graduate school. I knew you'd make it about money. He cut me off. This isn't about money, Dad. This is about family. This is about supporting your son on the biggest day of his life. That night, Diana cornered me in our bedroom. Michael, what's wrong with you? It's our only son's wedding. Our only son. Do you know what people will think if we don't help? Do you know how that will look? People? What people? Our friends. The family. Brittany's parents are putting in their share. What kind of message does it send if we don't match that? Diana, We've already given him $80,000 for businesses that went nowhere. That's different. Those were investments. This is his wedding. You only get married once. Some people get married more than once. Don't be cynical. It's unattractive. She turned away from me, scrolling through her phone, probably looking at wedding inspiration posts. Besides, what else are we saving it for? We're comfortable. The house is paid off. We have good retirement accounts. Why are you being so cheap about this? I hate that word. Cheap. Like having financial boundaries makes you some kind of miser. But I gave in. I always gave in. That was the problem. Over the next year, the requests kept coming. Marcus needed help with the honeymoon suite upgrade. Another $2,000. Brittany wanted custom invitations from a designer in Seattle. $1,500. There were engagement party costs, rehearsal dinner expenses, matching outfits for the wedding party. Every time, Diana would give me that look, the one that said, "What kind of father says no?" Sophia was the only one who seemed concerned. One afternoon in February, she came over with Max. I was in my study, reviewing blueprints for a new commercial project downtown. She sat across from me, and Max immediately put his head in her lap. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Always, sweetheart. Are you okay?" "Financially, I mean. With everything for Marcus's wedding. We're fine. Why do you ask?" "Because Mom keeps posting about the wedding, and Marcus keeps talking about all these expenses, and I worry you're stretching yourself too thin. Your mother and I have been saving for a long time. We can handle it." She nodded, but she didn't look convinced. "I just want to make sure you're not sacrificing things you shouldn't. You and Mom should be thinking about your retirement, about your health. Dad, when was the last time you went to the doctor for a checkup?" "I'm fine, Sophia. Don't worry about your old man." But she had a point. I'd been having chest pains for about 6 months. Nothing dramatic, just a tightness that would show up when I was stressed or after I climbed stairs too quickly. I told myself it was age, maybe anxiety about work. I'd been working 60-hour weeks on this downtown project. The client kept changing specifications, and we were behind schedule. I'd been living on coffee and antacids. My blood pressure was high. I knew that because I'd checked it at one of those machines at the pharmacy. 158/96. The machine flashed red and told me to see a doctor. I didn't. There wasn't time. The wedding was in 3 months, and Diana needed me to be present for all the planning discussions. Marcus needed my advice on last-minute decisions. Work needed me on site to solve problems the junior engineers couldn't handle. The wedding was set for June 15th. By May, I was running on fumes. The chest pains were more frequent. I'd wake up at 3 in the morning with my heart racing, convinced something was wrong, then tell myself it was just stress. After the wedding, I'd promised myself. After the wedding, I'd get a full physical. I'd take some time off. Diana and I would take that trip to Vancouver Island we'd been talking about for years. On June 12th, 3 days before the wedding, I was at a construction site in northwest Portland. We were putting up a mixed-use building, retail on the ground floor, apartments above. I was doing a final inspection of the structural elements before we closed up the walls. My site supervisor, James, had questions about some load-bearing calculations. I was on the 3rd floor, checking a steel beam placement, when I felt it. Not the usual tightness. This was different. This was an elephant sitting on my chest. My left arm went numb. The clipboard I was holding clattered to the concrete floor. "Michael? You okay?" James was beside me suddenly. I tried to answer, but the words wouldn't come. The room tilted. The pain in my chest was expanding, radiating down my arm, up into my jaw. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. Everything went white at the edges. "Call 911, James was shouting. "Michael, stay with me. Sit down. Sit down." I remember being lowered to the ground. I remember the coolness of the concrete through my shirt. I remember thinking, absurdly, that I was going to get my clothes dirty. Diana hated when I came home with construction dust on my work clothes. The paramedics arrived. I don't know how long it took. Time had stopped making sense. They were asking me questions. "Can you tell me your name? Do you know what day it is? On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is the pain?" 10, I wanted to say. It's a 10, but I could only nod. They got me on a stretcher. IV in my arm, oxygen mask on my face. The ambulance ride was a blur of sirens and voices and that relentless, crushing pain. I heard one of the paramedics radioing ahead. 58-year-old male, possible MI, ST elevation on the monitor, ETA 7 minutes. Myocardial infarction, heart attack. I was having a heart attack. At the hospital, everything happened fast. A team was waiting. They transferred me to a gurney, wheeled me through corridors that smelled like antiseptic and floor polish. Someone was cutting off my shirt. Someone else was attaching electrodes to my chest. A doctor with kind eyes leaned over me. "Mr. Torres, I'm Dr. Chen. You're having a heart attack. We need to get you to the cath lab right now to open up the blocked artery. Do you understand?" I nodded. "We've contacted your emergency contact. Your wife is on her way. You're going to be okay, but we need to work fast." They wheeled me into surgery. The last thing I remember before the sedation took hold was thinking about Diana. She'd be so worried. She'd be racing to the hospital. Everything else, the wedding, the money, the stress, none of it would matter. She'd be there. I woke up in a recovery room. The elephant was gone from my chest, replaced by a dull ache and a fog of medication. A nurse was checking my vitals. "Welcome back, Mr. Torres. The procedure went well. Dr. Chen will be by shortly to explain everything." "My wife," I managed to say. My throat was raw. "Is my wife here?" The nurse's expression shifted slightly. "Let me check for you." She left. Dr. Chen came in a few minutes later with a tablet, showing me images of my heart, explaining about the stent they'd placed in my left anterior descending artery. The Widowmaker, he called it. If James hadn't gotten help as fast as he did, I might not have made it. "You're lucky," Dr. Chen said. "But Mr. Torres, this is a serious wake-up call. Your cholesterol is high, your blood pressure is dangerously elevated, and from what your supervisor told us, you've been under enormous stress. You're going to need to make some significant lifestyle changes. Less work, better diet, regular exercise, and absolutely no more ignoring symptoms. When can I go home? We want to keep you for at least 3 days. Monitor your heart. Make sure the stent is functioning properly. Get you started on medications. Do you have questions?" "My wife." The nurse was going to check if she was here. "Let me find out." He left. The nurse came back. "Mr. Torres, I spoke with the charge nurse. Your wife called about an hour ago. She said she's glad you're stable, and she'll visit after she returns from Mexico next week." I thought I'd misheard. The medications were making everything fuzzy. "What?" "She said there's a family wedding this weekend and they've already made travel arrangements. She said she'll be back next Wednesday." I stared at the ceiling tiles, white panels with small holes. I counted them. 12 across, 8 down, 96 tiles. The math was simple. The understanding was harder. "She's not coming," I said. The nurse looked uncomfortable. "I'm sorry. Is there someone else we can call? Another family member? Try my son, Marcus Torres. He should be in my phone." She found my phone in a plastic bag with my other belongings. My wallet, my wedding ring, my keys. All the pieces of my life, cataloged in a bag. She found Marcus's number and called. I could hear it ringing on speaker. Once, twice, 3 times, 4. "Hey, this is Marcus. Leave a message, and I'll hit you back." The nurse left a message explaining the situation, asking him to call back as soon as possible. Then she tried again. Same result. On the 3rd try, he picked up. "Hello?" Background noise, music, laughter. People having a good time. "Mr. Torres? This is Nurse Williams at Oregon Health and Science University. I'm calling about your father, Michael Torres. He was brought in earlier today with a heart attack. He's stable now, but, oh man, yeah, Mom told me. That's rough. Is he okay?" "He's stable, but he's going to need support during recovery. Are you able to come to the hospital?" There was a pause. The background noise continued. "Here's the thing. I'm actually at the airport right now. We're literally about to board for Cancun. The wedding is in 3 days, and we've got like 150 people flying in. I can't really cancel at this point." I closed my eyes. "Mr. Torres, your father had a significant cardiac event. The doctor classified it as a widowmaker heart attack. If his supervisor hadn't acted quickly, I get it, I really do. And I'm glad Dad's okay. But like, he's stable, right? You said he's stable, so he's not going to die or anything. Mom said she'd check on him when we get back. It's just 1 week. The nurse looked at me. I shook my head. She understood. "I'll let your father know you called," she said, and ended the call. "I'm sorry," she said to me. "It's fine. They have a wedding. 150 guests. $12,000 photographer. Imported orchids. Mr. Torres. Can you try my daughter? Sophia Torres." This time, the phone was answered on the first ring. "Hello? Is this Sophia Torres?" "Yes. Who's this?" "This is Nurse Williams at OHSU. I'm calling about your father. What happened? Is he okay?" Her voice went sharp with panic. "He had a heart attack earlier today. He's stable and recovering, but I'm on my way." "Which floor?" "Never mind. I'll find it. Tell him I'm coming right now." She hung up. The nurse smiled. "She sounds like a good daughter." "She is," I said. Sophia arrived 40 minutes later, breathless, still wearing her coffee shop apron. She had Max with her on a leash. "I'm sorry, miss, but we don't allow dogs in patient rooms," the nurse started. "He's an emotional support animal," Sophia lied without hesitation. "My father needs him." The nurse looked at me. I nodded. She let it go. Sophia pulled a chair to my bedside and took my hand. Max settled on the floor beside her, his head on his paws, watching me with those patient brown eyes. "Dad, what happened?" I told her. The chest pains I'd been ignoring, the site inspection, the crushing weight, the ambulance, the surgery. "Why didn't you tell me you were having chest pains?" "I thought it was stress. After the wedding." "The wedding?" Her expression hardened. "Dad, where's Mom? Where's Marcus?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. "They didn't come," she said quietly. "They have the wedding. 150 guests. They can't cancel. They left you here, alone, after a heart attack." "Sophia, don't." "Don't what? Don't be angry? Don't point out that their priorities are completely insane?" She was crying now, angry tears. "You almost died, Dad. Do you understand that?" The nurse said, "Widowmaker. That means people die from this. And they're taking selfies on a beach in Mexico." Max stood up and put his head in my lap, sensing the distress. I stroked his ears with my good hand. The other one had an IV. "They didn't know it was that serious," I said. "The nurse told Marcus it was a widowmaker heart attack. She told him you could have died, and he said you were stable, so it was fine." She wiped her eyes roughly. "Dad, I need you to hear this. What they did is not okay. This is not normal. This is not what family does." I didn't argue. I was too tired. And somewhere underneath the exhaustion and the medication and the dull ache in my chest, I knew she was right. She stayed until visiting hours ended. She promised to come back first thing in the morning with a change of clothes for me, some toiletries, a few books. She made the nurses promise to call her if anything changed. She took Max home to her apartment, even though her lease technically didn't allow dogs. That night, alone in my hospital room, I couldn't sleep. The monitor beside me beeped steadily, tracking the rhythm of my damaged heart. I kept thinking about what Marcus had said. He's stable, right? So he's not going to die or anything. At 2 in the morning, I opened my phone. I didn't know why. Maybe I was hoping for a message. Some sign that they'd realized what they'd done and were finding a way to make it right. Instead, I found Diana's Instagram. She'd posted 4 hours ago. A photo of her and Marcus and Brittany at the airport, all of them smiling, holding margaritas. The caption read, "Finally, the celebration begins. So grateful for family, love, and the journey ahead. Number, blessed, number, family number, Cancun wedding, number, living my best life." 237 likes, 43 comments, all variations of, "Have fun, and you deserve this," and "Beautiful family." I scrolled down. There was another post, from earlier in the day, right around the time I was being wheeled into surgery. A flat lay of Brittany's wedding shoes, Diana's sun hat, their boarding passes. Caption, "3 more days until we celebrate our Marcus. Nothing but sunshine and love ahead. Number wedding weekend, number blessed, number family first." Family first. I kept scrolling. There were weeks of posts. Diana's wellness tips, her morning routine, her favorite smoothie recipes, photos of our house, our backyard, our life, all carefully curated to project abundance and gratitude and joy. There were posts about Marcus's wedding, Diana's mother of the groom dress, the menu they'd chosen, the signature cocktail, So much documentation of this event that mattered more than everything else. I looked for myself in her feed. I appeared occasionally, always in the background, holding a garden tool while Diana posed with her harvest. Standing beside her at some charity gala. There was one from 3 months ago, my birthday. Diana had made a post about the importance of celebrating the people who support you. Happy birthday to my rock, Michael. Couldn't do life without you. Followed by 5 hashtags about gratitude. In 3 years of posts, she'd never mentioned my work, never talked about the buildings I designed, the structures I made safe, the problems I solved. I was furniture in the background of her aspirational content. I put my phone down. The monitor kept beeping. Somewhere down the hall, another patient was coughing. A nurse walked by, sneakers squeaking on linoleum. I'd spent 33 years building things. I knew how to read a blueprint. I knew how to identify structural weaknesses before they became catastrophic failures. I knew that when you see a crack in a foundation, you don't paint over it and hope for the best. But somehow, I'd missed the cracks in my own life. Sophia came back the next morning with everything she'd promised. She'd also brought a laptop so I could work if I felt up to it. "You're not working," she said when she saw my expression. "I brought it for entertainment, Netflix, audiobooks, whatever you need to not be bored out of your mind. I appreciate you coming back. Where else would I be, Dad?" She settled into the chair, Max at her feet. I called the office and told them you'd be out for a while. "James has been texting me updates. Everyone's worried about you." The whole crew signed a card. "That's kind of them. Your coworkers care more than your own wife." She said it flatly, not like an accusation, just a fact we were both acknowledging. "Sophia, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest. Always. How long have you noticed that things were the way they are?" She was quiet for a moment. "A long time, Dad. Since high school, maybe. Mom was always focused on appearances, making sure we looked like the perfect family. I thought it was just her being insecure. But then Marcus started his businesses, and every time one failed, she'd make excuses. She'd blame the market or bad luck or not having enough capital. Never his decisions. And me? You enabled it. I'm sorry, but you did. Every time Marcus asked for money, you gave it to him. Every time Mom pressured you, you caved. I watched you work yourself into the ground to keep funding their dreams while they treated you like an ATM. The words stung because they were true. Why didn't you say something? I tried. Remember when Marcus's cryptocurrency thing crashed? I told you that you needed to stop bailing him out. You said family helps family. You said when I had kids of my own, I'd understand. I did remember that conversation. I dismissed her concerns as youthful cynicism. She didn't understand yet, I'd thought. She hadn't learned about sacrifice and compromise and putting family first. You were right, I said. I didn't want to be right. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted Mom to be the person she pretends to be online. I wanted Marcus to succeed at something. I wanted you to realize you deserve better than being everyone's backup plan. She pulled out her phone. Dad, there's something you should see. I didn't want to show you this yet, but maybe you need to know. She opened her photos and handed me the phone. It was a screenshot of a text conversation between her and Marcus from that morning. Marcus, why aren't you here? This is really messed up. Sophia, Dad almost died yesterday. I'm at the hospital. Marcus, he didn't die though. He's fine. And you're really embarrassing me in front of Brittany's family. Sophia, I'm embarrassing you? Marcus, yeah. They're asking where you are, and I have to explain that you're making some big statement instead of being here for your brother. This is my wedding, Sophia. My one wedding. Sophia, I'm being here for our father who had a heart attack. Marcus, which was super bad timing, BTW. He couldn't have waited one more week. Sophia, are you actually blaming Dad for having a heart attack? Marcus, I'm saying it's pretty selfish to have a medical emergency right before the biggest day of my life. The conversation ended there. I stared at the screen, reading it again and again. He thinks I'm being selfish, I said. He's delusional. They both are. Dad, they've been living in this bubble where you exist to fund their lifestyle, and they genuinely believe that's normal. That's love to them. You providing everything while they take everything. I did that. I created that expectation. Maybe. But you can stop. Right now. I handed back her phone. My hand was shaking slightly. The monitor picked up my elevated heart rate, beeping a little faster. Sophia, I need you to do something for me. Anything. In my wallet, there's a business card for my lawyer. Douglas Park. Call him. Tell him I need to see him as soon as I'm released from the hospital. Her eyes widened. Dad, I need to make some changes. Legal changes, financial changes. And I need to do it while I'm thinking clearly. Okay, I'll call him today. That afternoon, while Sophia was getting coffee, I did something I should have done months ago. I opened my banking app, joint checking account with Diana, $47,322. Savings account, $89,156. I had my own retirement accounts she couldn't touch, about $430,000 between my 401k and IRA, but everything else was joint. I looked at the transaction history. It was enlightening. 2 days before my heart attack, Diana had transferred $30,000 from our savings to her personal checking account. The memo said wedding expenses, but we'd already paid for everything. I had the receipts, the venue, the photographer, the flowers, the family contribution. We'd covered it all by May. I went back further. Over the past 6 months, there were smaller transfers. $2,000 here, $3,500 there, always to her personal account, always with vague memos. Household expenses, personal items, family needs. In 6 months, she'd moved $63,000 into her personal account. I looked at her spending from that account. Luxury skincare subscriptions, designer handbags, a photography course, studio rental for her content creation, a new laptop, premium editing software, spa days, expensive dinners with her influencer friends. She was building her brand on my money, while posting about gratitude and simplicity and mindful living. I should have been angrier. Instead, I just felt tired and sad and done. I called Douglas Park myself. He agreed to come to the hospital the next day. He arrived at 2 o'clock, carrying a briefcase and an expression of concern. Douglas and I had worked together on various legal matters over the years. He'd handled our wills, our property purchases, some contract disputes with clients. He was thorough and discreet. Michael, I'm so sorry about your health scare. When Sophia called, I cleared my afternoon. What can I do for you? I need to make some changes. Starting with my accounts. Over the next hour, I explained the situation. He listened without interrupting, taking notes on a legal pad. When I finished, he set down his pen. Michael, what you're describing is financial infidelity. Your wife has been systematically moving marital assets into personal accounts without your knowledge or consent. In a divorce, that's relevant. I haven't decided about divorce yet. I understand, but we should protect your assets now. Today, before she realizes you know what's happening. He pulled out some forms. This is a temporary freeze on your joint accounts. You can institute it unilaterally due to suspected fraud. It means neither of you can access those accounts without both signatures. We'll need a judge to approve it, but given that you're in the hospital recovering from a cardiac event, and given the evidence of unauthorized transfers, we'll get it. She's going to be furious. Probably. But Michael, if you don't protect yourself now, you could wake up to empty accounts. She's already moved $63,000. What's to stop her from moving the rest? He was right. I signed the forms. What about my will? I asked. What about it? I want to change it. Right now, everything is split 50-50 between Diana and the kids if something happens to me. I want that changed. To what? Remove Diana and Marcus entirely. Everything goes to Sophia, with a provision for a trust for Max's care for the rest of his life. Douglas didn't look surprised. I can draft that. But Michael, you should know that in Oregon, spouses have certain rights to estate assets, regardless of what the will says. We'd need to file for legal separation at minimum to fully exclude her. Then let's do that too. Are you sure? This is a big step. You're in the hospital, you're on medications, you've been through trauma. Maybe you should take some time before. Douglas, I'm 58 years old. Yesterday I almost died. My wife chose a beach vacation over my hospital bed. My son told his sister that my heart attack was bad timing. I don't need time. I need action. He nodded slowly. All right. I'll start the paperwork. We'll need some information. documentation of her spending, evidence of the transfers. I'll need you to write out a timeline of events. Can you do that? I can. One more thing. Where are you going when you're discharged? You can't go back to your house while we're initiating separation. Legally and emotionally, it's not advisable. I hadn't thought that far ahead. I don't know. My apartment, Sophia said from the doorway. We both turned. She was holding 2 coffees and had obviously heard at least part of the conversation. He can stay with me. It's small, but it's enough. Sweetheart, I can't impose. You're not imposing. You're my father, and you need a safe place to recover. I have a pull-out couch. Max already loves you. And honestly, Dad, I think we could both use the company. Douglas looked relieved. Perfect. Michael, while you're recovering, don't contact Diana or Marcus. Don't respond to their messages. Don't engage. Let me handle all communication through legal channels. Can you do that? Yes. Good. I'll have initial paperwork ready by tomorrow. Once you're discharged, we'll meet at my office to finalize everything. In the meantime, rest. Follow doctor's orders. Let your daughter take care of you. After he left, Sophia sat down and handed me one of the coffees. It was decaf, she'd remembered. You heard all that, I said. Most of it. Dad, I'm proud of you. For what? Failing to see reality for 30 years? For choosing to see it now. For choosing yourself. She squeezed my hand. That takes courage. The next day, Doctor Chen cleared me for discharge with strict instructions. Cardiac rehab 3 times a week. Blood pressure medication, cholesterol medication, blood thinners. No stress, no heavy lifting. Follow-up appointment in 2 weeks. And most importantly, lifestyle changes. Mr. Torres, you've been given a second chance. Most people don't get that. Don't waste it. Sophia drove me to her apartment in southeast Portland. It was a small 1-bedroom in an old building, but it was clean and bright and hers. She'd made up the pull-out couch with fresh sheets and put a glass of water on the side table. Max immediately claimed the spot at the foot of the bed. I'll sleep in my room. You're out here, she said. Bathroom is through there. Kitchen is small but functional. There's a coffee maker, and I stocked the fridge with heart-healthy stuff. Lots of vegetables, fish, whole grains. I threw out all my junk food. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. Doctor's orders are law now. She smiled. Get some rest, Dad. I have a shift at the coffee shop, but I'll be back by 8. If you need anything, call me. Promise? I promise. She left. The apartment was quiet. Through the window, I could hear street noise, cars, voices, someone's music. Normal life happening while mine reassembled itself into a new shape. I lay down on the pull-out couch. Max jumped up beside me, turned 3 circles, and settled against my side. I closed my eyes. My phone buzzed. I almost ignored it, but something made me look. It was a notification from my bank. Transaction declined. Attempted withdrawal. $25,000 from joint savings. Initiator, Diana Torres. She'd tried to pull out more money. The freeze was working. 3 minutes later, my phone started ringing. Diana, I watched it ring 4 times. 5. It went to voicemail. 30 seconds later, she called again. I turned off the phone. That evening, Sophia came home with takeout from a Thai place that had healthy options. We ate sitting on her small couch, Max begging shamelessly for chicken. So, she said, your phone is off. Douglas said not to engage. They're probably losing their minds. The wedding is tomorrow. They're going to realize you froze the accounts. Mom is going to panic. Probably. How do you feel about that? I thought about it. Tired, but not guilty. Does that make me a bad person? No, Dad. It makes you a person who's finally setting boundaries. The wedding happened without me. I know because Marcus left a voicemail. Sophia played it for me later. I needed to hear it. Dad, what the hell? Do you know what you did? The resort tried to charge Mom's card for some last-minute expenses, and it got declined. She tried to pull money from the savings account, and it got declined. She called the bank, and they said you put a freeze on everything. On my wedding day, Dad. You did this on my wedding day. Do you know how embarrassing this was? Brittany's parents had to cover the extra costs. Do you know how that made me look? And you're not answering your phone. You're not at the house. Where are you? Mom is freaking out. She's talking about lawyers. She's saying you abandoned her. That you had your heart attack just to ruin my wedding. I don't know what kind of midlife crisis you're having, but you need to get it together. We can talk about this when we get back. But Dad, you really messed up here. You really let me down. The message ended. I looked at Sophia. He thinks I let him down, I said. He's delusional. He said Diana thinks I had my heart attack to ruin the wedding. She's also delusional. They're going to come looking for me when they get back. Let them. They don't know where you are. And even if they figure it out, they're not getting in. I'll call the police if I have to. Over the next week, I focused on recovery. Physical recovery was the easy part. Walk a little more each day. Take the medications. Eat the vegetables Sophia prepared. Sleep when I was tired. The hard part was everything else. Douglas filed for legal separation. He also filed a petition for a temporary restraining order on the joint accounts, pending a full financial review. A judge approved it based on the evidence of unauthorized transfers. Diana was served with papers on June 22nd, the day after she returned from Mexico. She called Sophia's phone. Sophia didn't answer, but she saved the voicemail. I know he's with you. Tell your father that he's making the biggest mistake of his life. Tell him that I won't be made to look like a fool. I took care of him for 30 years. I raised his children. I made a beautiful home. And this is how he repays me? By humiliating me in front of our son, in front of his new wife, in front of everyone? Tell him that he can't just walk away from a marriage because he's upset about one thing. Tell him to stop being dramatic and come home so we can talk like adults. One thing. She called it one thing. Marcus showed up at Sophia's apartment on June 24th. She didn't let him in. They had the conversation through the door, with me sitting on the couch, listening. Sophia, where's Dad? He's recovering. You're not seeing him. He's my father. I have a right. You have the right to nothing. You left him in the hospital to take selfies in Mexico. That's not fair. We couldn't cancel the wedding. You could have. You chose not to. There's a difference. Let me talk to him. 5 minutes. No. Sophia. He froze all the accounts. Mom can't pay the mortgage. She can't access any of their money. Do you understand how serious this is? I understand that she stole $63,000 from those accounts over 6 months. That's what's serious. She didn't steal. It's her money too. Not anymore. Dad has a lawyer. If you have something to say, say it through legal channels. Now leave, or I'm calling the police. He left. Sophia came back inside, shaking slightly. You okay? I asked. Yeah, just angry. He actually had the nerve to act like he was the victim here. He believes it. That's the scary part. In early July, I was cleared to go back to limited work. I met with my company's HR department and explained that I needed to scale back. No more 60-hour weeks. No more high-stress projects. They were understanding. They offered me a consulting position, 30 hours a week, working from home, reviewing designs, and mentoring junior engineers. The pay was less, but it was enough. I also started looking for a new place to live. I couldn't stay on Sophia's couch forever, and I didn't want to go back to the house. That house was full of memories I didn't want anymore. It was too big, too expensive, too full of everything I'd been trying to hold together. In August, I found a small condo near Sophia's apartment. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a balcony overlooking a community garden. I could afford it on my own. I bought it outright with money from my retirement account. Douglas helped me make sure Diana had no claim to it. The divorce proceedings started in September. Diana fought everything. She wanted half of my retirement accounts, half the value of my consulting income, spousal support. She claimed she'd sacrificed her nursing career to support my work and raise our children, and therefore deserved to maintain her lifestyle. Douglas countered with documentation of her spending, her unauthorized transfers, her abandonment during a medical crisis. He painted a picture of financial exploitation and emotional neglect. It wasn't hard. The evidence was overwhelming. By November, we'd reached a settlement. She got the house and half the equity. I kept my retirement accounts, no spousal support. She wasn't happy, but her lawyer advised her to take it. The alternative was going to trial, where her Instagram posts and spending habits would become public record. Marcus didn't speak to me. He'd made his choice clear. In his mind, I'd ruined his wedding and destroyed his mother's life. He wanted nothing to do with me. That hurt. I won't pretend it didn't. But I also realized something important. I'd been chasing his approval for 30 years. funding his dreams because I wanted him to see me as a good father. But a good father doesn't enable self-destruction. A good father teaches consequences. I'd failed at that. And now we were both living with the result. Sophia helped me move into the condo. It was strange, packing up only the things that were truly mine. Clothes, books, tools, photos of Sophia, my engineering awards, the Mustang parts from the garage. Everything else stayed with Diana. On my first night in the condo, Sophia ordered pizza, and we sat on my new couch, the only furniture I'd bought so far, eating dinner and watching Max explore his new home. "How does it feel?" she asked. "Empty, but good, like I'm starting over." "You are starting over. And Dad, you're going to be okay." Better than okay. She was right. Over the next months, I settled into my new life. I worked my consulting hours. I attended cardiac rehab and actually enjoyed it. The other patients were fellow survivors, people who understood what it meant to get a second chance. We swapped stories, encouraged each other, celebrated small victories. I started cooking. Real cooking, not just heating up whatever Diana had meal prepped. I learned to make heart-healthy meals that actually tasted good. Salmon with roasted vegetables, whole grain pasta with homemade marinara, stir-fries loaded with color and crunch. I took Max for daily walks. Sophia and I had agreed he should live with me. Her apartment was too small, and besides, he'd become my companion through all of this. On our walks, we'd go down to the Willamette River and watch the water. Sometimes I'd sit on a bench and just breathe. No agenda, no pressure, just existing. I reconnected with friends I'd neglected. James from work and his wife invited me to dinner. We talked about everything except my divorce. Other colleagues reached out, people I'd worked with for years but never socialized with outside the office. They were kind. They didn't pry. They just offered companionship. In March, almost a year after my heart attack, Sophia called me with news. "Dad, I defended my thesis. I passed. I'm officially a master's degree holder." "Sweetheart, that's incredible. Congratulations. I want you to come to graduation, May 15th. Will you be there? I wouldn't miss it for anything." The graduation was held at Portland State's campus. I sat in the audience, watching Sophia walk across the stage in her cap and gown. When they called her name, I stood up and cheered. I didn't care that I was the only parent whooping like an idiot. This moment mattered. This person mattered. And I was there. After the ceremony, we took photos together. Sophia in her regalia, me in my best suit, Max wearing a tiny graduation cap Sophia had bought as a joke. We were laughing, all of us, genuine joy captured in pixels. Later, at dinner, Sophia brought up something she'd been thinking about. "Dad, I want to ask you something, and you can say no." "What is it?" "I got a job offer. A really good one. Structural engineering firm in Seattle. Great salary, interesting projects, good benefits. But it means moving." "Sophia, that's wonderful. You should absolutely take it. But you're here. And I worry about leaving you alone." "I'm not alone. I have friends. I have work. I have Max. And sweetheart, this is your life. Your career. I don't want you making decisions based on taking care of me. I've had enough of people sacrificing themselves for the wrong reasons." She smiled. "You're sure?" "I'm sure. Take the job. I'll visit. You'll visit. We'll make it work." She took the job. She moved to Seattle in July. I helped her pack, drove the moving truck, spent a weekend helping her set up her new apartment. It was a good space, bigger than her Portland place, with actual square footage and a small patio. She was excited. I was proud. Driving back to Portland alone, I realized something. I was okay. Actually, okay. Not just surviving. Not just getting through. I was living a life I'd built intentionally, with boundaries I'd chosen, with people who valued me for more than my bank account. That September, on what would have been my 33rd wedding anniversary with Diana, I did something symbolic. I took off my wedding ring. I'd been wearing it out of habit, even after the divorce was finalized. It felt strange to take it off, naked, wrong, but also right. I drove to a jewelry store and had it melted down. The gold was reformed into a simple pendant. On one side, the jeweler engraved Sophia's initials. On the other, the date of my heart attack, a reminder of what I'd survived and what mattered. I sent it to Sophia with a note. Some metal is meant to be reformed into something better. Thank you for teaching me that. Love, Dad. She called me crying, happy crying, the kind that comes from being seen and valued. I still think about Marcus sometimes. I wonder if he's happy, if his marriage is what he hoped, if he ever thinks about that day when his father almost died and he chose a party instead. I hope he's learned something. I hope he's grown, but I don't reach out. The door is open if he ever wants to walk through it with genuine remorse and changed behavior. But I won't chase him. I spent too many years chasing people who didn't want to be caught. Diana occasionally shows up on my social media feeds. She's still posting about wellness and gratitude. She moved to a smaller place after selling our house. Her follower count has dropped. People notice when the veneer cracks. When the number blessed life reveals its cracks. As for me, I'm 59 now. I take my medications. I eat my vegetables. I walk Max every morning. I work 30 hours a week on projects I care about. I have dinner with friends. I visit Sophia in Seattle once a month, and she comes home for holidays. Last month, I started volunteering at a cardiac support group at OHSU. I share my story with newly recovering patients. I tell them about the warning signs I ignored, the life I was living that nearly killed me, the changes I made. Some of them listen. Some of them aren't ready yet. I understand. I wasn't ready for a long time either. I tell them what I wish someone had told me. Your heart is a muscle, but it's also a metaphor. When something is damaging it, you have to make a choice. You can keep accepting the damage because removing the source feels impossible, feels selfish, feels wrong. Or you can cut off the poison, even if it's painful, even if people don't understand, even if you have to rebuild your entire life. The scar on my chest is a reminder. The stent in my artery is permanent, but so is the lesson. Some relationships hold you up, others weigh you down. Learning to tell the difference isn't selfish, it's survival. And sometimes, when you finally remove the weight, you discover you can breathe again. You can walk without pain. You can build something new that's stronger than what you lost. I'm Michael Torres. I'm 59 years old. I spent 33 years building structures for other people. Now I'm building something for myself, a life with boundaries, with purpose, with people who see me as more than a resource to extract. It's a good foundation, solid, built to last. And for the first time in decades, I'm not worried about it collapsing.